Hello guys, what's up? Welcome back. We're here for UFC 274. Charles Oliveira against Justin Gaethje. I'm here for some early predictions. Now I will put out, I've not watched all the fights for this card. I just really wanted to talk about this card. Get started over here. We're still at Sunday night here, just about to move into Monday morning. But I've been watching fights throughout the day, throughout the week actually, from kind of midweek Wednesday, and just really want to talk about these fights. I'm really looking forward to the pay-per-view. Obviously looking really forward to the two title fights up top. So yeah, I'm just here to talk about that. I might make a video later on in the week, upcoming week, with my precise predictions. Because like I say, we are on Sunday night still, so we're still a long way off. But I have got a bet down for this card, coming off a really good night last night with my bets as well. So hoping to continue that run. Guys, if you can throw a like on the video, it would be much appreciated. I really like if you've never seen my content, hit that subscribe button and help me grow the channel. And I'm going to see if I can start getting these out early. It's just harder with kids and working all the time. So, but I am going to try and do as much as I can. But really looking forward to the fight card. Big fights up top. Some good fights scattered throughout. I think we've got 15 fights. And like I said, I didn't really sleep well last night. I kind of fell asleep through the Jotko fight. Woke up very early this morning, just started watching some fights while I had the opportunity to do so. So, yeah, talking about last night, I mean, I think I finished betting wise. I had 4 bets and I won 3 out of the 4, with my only loss being Jared Gordon. Now, if you watched my video last week, you'd have seen I was on Grant Dawson, but I kind of changed it as I watched a little bit more tape. I thought Jared Gordon was a little bit live in that spot, took the shot and but lost on that. Bet Chito Vera, bet a parlay of Natan Levy and Green Linnaeus to go into round 2. That hit, and then I had Jotko to win via decision, which I thought was super high at plus 210. So 6.56 units for the night. I'm up about 32 units for the year. Having a really solid year betting wise. Hoping to keep it going here. And like I said, I think this is a card where so far to me, the fights I've watched, there are some very live underdogs in this one here. So let's get into the card and just talk a little bit about it. We're going to start down with a fight that was only added, I think it wasn't, I want to say it's maybe early Saturday morning that I seen it was announced. So a week before, and it's Andre Fialo against Cameron Van Camp. Fialo's coming off a massive win, a big win where he knocked out Miguel Baeza. Now, when you look at Baeza, you can see still he's a very good fighter, but super green in a lot of spots. And he was kind of made to pay in that where he didn't really fight to a game plan as well. And he's too liable to get in there and get hit. And that's what happened against Fialo. And Fialo is very dangerous early on with a lot of heavy power. Fialo's coming in here with a 15-4 record against Van Camp, 15-5-1. And I watched a couple of fights in Van Camp, and I'm not overly impressed with kind of what I see. I think the guys that he's fought are pretty low caliber fighters with not the greatest records. So I think he's got the opportunity coming in here on short notice. He's got himself a UFC contract, another kind of filler fight on here. I like what I see from Fialo. I don't know whether I've seen a line for this fight yet. So I'm interested to see kind of where it opens, because if I can get a decent line in Fialo, I might actually use him as a parlay piece. He came into the UFC against Michel Pereira and lost that one there. So, but you've seen him beat previous guys out there that have been in the UFC, knocked out Seklic. Guy has big power early on, and that's kind of what I expect to see there. When you watch Van Camp, he likes to try and get the fights to the ground, uses submission grappling. I just don't think right now that's really going to work in this fight here. So initially, like I said, I've not watched a hell of a lot on Van Camp outside a couple of fights. I could do watch a little bit more, but I think I've got a good enough read to know what he's all about and where he can really win fights. And I don't think it's going to be this type of fight that he wins with Fialo. I think Fialo's going to knock him out. So I've got Andre Fialo. I'm going to take him via knockout in the first 2 rounds there in that one. Johnny Newson against Fernie Garcia. So this was one of the very first fights I watched this morning. Just because Fernie Garcia, he wasn't really ringing a bell in my head of who is this guy. I've seen the 10-1 record, and I've seen the fight on Dana White's Contender Series, and there's just so many fights nowadays that I'm trying to remember who this guy was. And then I initially went back and I watched that, and I kind of remembered off the bat his win over Josh Weems there. Don't think it honestly looked great initially alone. He's very susceptible to low kicks. Very susceptible. What I did like about him is that he's got very good hands, very fast hands, throws in a combination, doesn't throw singular strikes, likes to be the aggressor and move forward, and push you against the cage and unload with some big, heavy combination shots. And like I say, he has got really good, decent hand speed, something that you do like. And he has got, obviously, he's got some power. You've seen that knockout where he kind of caught Weems in the side of the head there, hurt him with that shot and put him down. And I have seen in previous fights, I think it was the LFA fights, comes out a good camp at Fortis MMA as well, I should say. He was against the guy, I forgot his name, let me check this, it was 4-1, I remember. Gonzalez, that was it. Gonzalez actually came out, and I was a little bit impressed with the way he was throwing his shots, mixing it in well, quite fast, going kind of up top, going to the body, going low as well, but just couldn't stop the takedown. So Garcia was really getting off on shots, and then eventually would just time his takedowns where he could get double legs at ease, really, and that's kind of really how he won that fight. You watched the Ryan Hayes fight. That was a split decision. I think again, like I mentioned earlier on, very susceptible to low kicks. So if Newson sees this here and can use that as a part of his arsenal, I think that Newson, to me, has got fairly decent all-around skills. I don't think he's a super high-caliber fighter. But to me, I think this is a winnable fight for him. I think that he, like I say, he's been out for a little bit. He got knocked out. Sorry, he never got knocked out. He got dropped hard in the Ricardo Ramos fight, where I think he took one of those spinning back elbows and really actually took it pretty well and managed to kind of survive that. Came back against Domingo Pilarte, won very easily, and then that got over that. He won with an overhand right, and then that got turned to a no contest, and he came back and he got kind of starched a little bit by Randy Costa. And we've not seen him in about a year and a half. So interesting to see what his kind of game plan will be here. I do think he has enough power in the hands there to hurt Garcia. Garcia is a I can't even say that. Primarily, there we go, got it out. A boxer. Like I said, I actually quite like his hands. I like his speed with his hands, and I like how he kind of puts these shots together. And like I say, he did show a bit of kind of class and a bit of diversity with his fight IQ by getting the fights to the ground. For me, initially, I think Johnny Newson's live in this spot. I think he's plus 150. I think this could end up being a very, very close encounter. But like I say, I was thinking, right, should I lay money on Johnny Newson right now? Because I actually quite like that line. I like bets around about that plus 150 mark. But I don't think I'm going to end up being on it as a pick on here. I think I will take him in this spot here. So I'll take Johnny Newson. I think he could win via knockout if he catches him with the right shot. I think more likely it's going to be decision. I think he's going to use that UFC experience, his advantage here, and take home a very, very close 29-28 decision. Lupita Godinez against Ariane Cornelosse is up next. Another close run fight, but I coming out liking the Cornelosse side, and she's another underdog in this spot. And I actually think this is a very, very close fight again. Godinez will kind of remember from what we've seen last year, where she really, I think this is I want to say it's her fifth fight inside a year, which is pretty active for the ladies. She came into the UFC April 17th, 2021, so about 13 months. This is fight number 5. She's 2-2 with wins over Luke Bunmi and Silvana Juarez, where she got a finish in that one via armbar in the first. She's a girl who likes to get in there, get the hands on the hips, and try and grind you against the cage and take you down. And she did that in fights. She did that in the Luke Bunmi fight, where she got those takedowns and just was very heavy with her control on top. Excuse me. And she's did that. She's got takedowns in every fight she's had in the UFC. Jessica Penne, sorry. That fight, to me, I thought she should have probably lost, if I'm being completely honest with you. I thought that I was more on the Penne side. I'm thinking. She lost that fight, yeah. I thought she was more incapable of probably getting that fight. I thought she should have won that one. So, and then the Carolina fight, I thought she fought a beautiful kind of game plan there, where she used her strikes enough to get a hold of Carolina and initially getting those takedowns and just kind of winning the fight through that. Then I think it was like a week later. Was it the very next card next? I think, or the next month. I think it was. Yeah, it might have been the next month. She came in there against Luke Bunmi and really she kind of gassed obviously a little bit in that fight, but she got the takedown. She did enough to get the win via a unanimous decision on there. Cornelosse, like both girls are like 5'2", so they're not very big. They both, I think, got the same reach, which is like 61, 62 inches. I think they're both orthodox fighters, if I remember right. I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen from Cornelosse. I'll be honest with you. When she went to the UFC against Hill, I liked her output in that fight, but you're going to get that with Angela Hill because she is very hittable. She will let you get shots off on her. And initially she got taken out in the third round there. Eventually all those strikes kind of caught with her. Kind of came back, and this, if I remember, this was the very first fight with fans back, pay-per-view in Jacksonville it was the Usman Masvidal card. And that was a barn burner. I think that was the first fight of the night. Both girls come out swinging. There was heavy leather landed there. Didn't like the fact she was taken down a couple of times because Godinez, I think if she stands with Cornelosse, she's not going to have success. She's going to want to get in those hips, push her against the cage, get takedowns in open space and try and control her with that. To me, I think that Cornelosse can stop those shots. I should mention that she beat Estela Nunes via submission in the third there, where she got numerous takedowns there. I think she can get takedowns in this fight as well. I think she will be a stronger fighter. I think the first round will be very kind of telling here. If Cornelosse stops takedowns and maybe gets takedowns, I think she's the better striker overall. So I like Ariana Cornelosse, and I'm thinking about a bet here. I mean, I think she's plus 175. That's a decent number. This could potentially be very close, but I think that I'd rather be on the Cornelosse side instead of the Godinez side here. So I'm going to take Ariana Cornelosse. Cleidson Rodriguez against CJ Vergara. I like what I see from Rodriguez. I like his kicking game. I think he's got a very solid kicking game. And again, someone Vergara here, I was actually a little bit impressed in his loss to Ode Osborne. So Rodriguez is a 7-1 fighter, fighting out of Brazil. Came through the Dana White Contender Series when he got that win via unanimous decision over Curatolo, I think it was. And this guy's had some big fights kind of scheduled in the past. He was supposed to fight Jake Hadley, who's a guy I know very well. He's a guy I've bet on before. He's going to fight in the UFC, I believe, in 2 weeks' time in the middle of May. So, and a guy like I like watching jungle fights when I get the opportunity to do so. I think it's a promotion I really like watching throughout the years. You have a lot of talent that comes through there. And I remember seeing his win when he won in the second round against De Silva. So the guy's got some decent overall game. Like I say, I think his hands could do with a bit of improving. But I do like his overall kind of kickboxing game. And he has shown in the past that he's got some submissions to his name. And that one over the silver that he had there. Vergara, to me, I thought he fought a really good fight against Ode Osborne. But initially, he just kind of came in there and kind of just got outstruck a little bit in that one and was a little bit too, I don't want to say too passive, because he really kind of tried to give it his all. I think he actually probably landed him, if I remember the stats that I've seen back earlier on. And Ode got a takedown in amongst there. He had that beautiful knockout of Bruno Correa in the Dana White Contender Series where he got his contract from. So overall, I think he's a pretty decent fighter. I just think that, like I say, the betting line on Rodriguez, it is high. It is minus 300. I was looking at that initially and thinking, is that a parlay piece? And I still think it could be. Because but when you look at Vergara, like, he strikes at a high clip. He's got a lot of output. He could land some shot with his hands, and I do think he's the better fighter with his hands. But ultimately, I'm kind of leaning on the Rodriguez side. It's a fight I'm going to try and watch a little bit more on and see if I can get more on both guys. Because, like I say, that's a big line for a UFC debutant coming in here off the Dana White Contender Series. He still only has like 8 fights to his name. minus 300 is pretty high. And like I say, there is those guys that come from Dana shows sometimes kind of drop the ball a little bit with those big lines. So I'll take Rodriguez, but like I say, not kind of super confident in that right now. Tracy Cortez against Melissa Gatto. This is an interesting fight. I mean, Cortez, I think this needs to be said here. She is fighting in Arizona, where she's from. She is a native of Phoenix, I believe. Fights out of Fight Ready. And this is the matchup I'm actually looking forward to. Cortez with a 9-1 record. She's a wrestler by trade. You've got Gatto, who's 8-0-2. Both girls 5-5. Both girls orthodox fighters, and you have Gatto with the reach there. She impressed me in her last fight. She really did against Sijara Eubanks, because Sijara is super tough. We know that. And sometimes if she shows up, she can be a handful. But Melissa Gatto really just like hurt her bad, knocked her down, and got the beautiful kind of finish with that kick in the third round there. And then before that, she had the Leonardo fight where she got the knockout there as well. So she can hurt girls, and she has a fairly decent output with it as well. And like I say, you watch that Leonardo fight, she got a takedown there. I can't remember the girl she beat. Was it Carol Hosa? I think she beat Carol Hosa many moons ago before she went. I think she popped for something, if I remember right, and never got the opportunity to kind of get her fight off in the UFC. So she's got some decent names to her record already with Eubanks and especially Hosa, who I think's a fighter, even though she did lose to McMahon last time out. It's all about whether she can consistently stop takedowns here, because that's what Tracy Cortez is going to do. She is on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC with wins over Vanessa Melo, Stephanie Egger, Justine Kish. Didn't like the fact she got dropped by Justine Kish, but Justine Kish I always thought she was a fairly decent fighter, and it never really panned out in the UFC. She won a big fight in Bellator as a big underdog against Lima McFarlane last time out. She is going to look for takedowns, and if she gets takedowns, she can have control time in rounds. She did that against Melo. She did that against Egger, who I'm going to say she's a judo black belt. So she got her down convincingly there. And then the Justine Kish one, that was, like I say, that was a little bit close. That was a split decision one there. I think, to me, the Cortez is just going to edge this. I can see a little bit of value in the Gatto side because she's got more finishing potential. I just don't know whether she's going to be able to stop takedowns and not be kind of laid on for longer parts of the rounds. So initially I'm going to go with Tracy Cortez and fighting at home in Phoenix. That also helps as well. But I am leaning Cortez via split decision. But I can see some people probably being on Gatto in that one there, because we've seen some things that you probably would like to see from her there as well. So moving on, we've got this is another fight I'm looking forward to. Francisco Trinaldo, Masaranduba is back as he faces off against Hot Chocolate. Danny Roberts, one of my guys, a guy I've met many times, watched come through Cage Warriors. I watched him there and been at some events where he's fought in the UK. I watched him in Vegas. I think it was against Dominic Steele. He had a great fight there. I'm a big fan of Danny Roberts, and I think I actually think it's a winnable fight for him if he can kind of stick together for 15 minutes. That's my only kind of worry. He's an underdog right now. I think he's plus 105 here in the UK. I would like a little bit more from him. I always seem to pick Trinaldo, but I think in this matchup, I actually quite like Danny Roberts. Like I say, if he can keep it together, that's the big thing to me. Is can he keep it 15 minutes solidly and not make any kind of fight IQ mistakes, which he has done in the past. Trinaldo does fight very close in certain spots. He did that against the White Grant. It was very close. There was a lot of close, significant strikes in that fight with a takedown by each guy. The Jai Herbert one, he was on his way to losing that fight before then getting the knockout very late in the third round, middle of the third round, I want to say. The McDessie one was fairly close. So he always strikes fairly close with people. You got to remember the guy's probably, how old is the guy? 78. So he's in his 40s. That's a pretty serious age, and to still be winning fights in the UFC is crazy. But he is coming off a win over Dwight Grant. He had that loss to Salikov where he just got outstruck and also got taken down, which was a little bit surprising from the Salikov side, but I was expecting to get outstruck in that one there. Danny Roberts, I mean, he's coming off 2 wins. A really nice win over Ramazan Ameev, where, again, a very close fight. Probably just got a little bit of a nod in that one there. He came through as a dog in that spot. That's a decent win to have against Ameev, who's a little bit of a spoiler fight and hard to look good against. Then you had the Zalima Imadaev fight. The guy has some big power. I think both guys can hurt each other here. I think both guys can knock each other down. I like the speed from Roberts. I think the speed and the power works very well for him. But Masarandu is a hard guy to get out of there. I don't think he's going to get him out of there. So for me, I think it's going to be a very close, fair encounter over 15 minutes. I'm edging Danny Roberts, but that just might be a bias on my side. I actually love Masarandu, but I think he's an awesome fighter. I've loved watching him for years. I've picked him. I think I picked him in the Herbert spot. I picked him in numerous other spots as well. The Paul Felder one, I believe I took him back many moons ago. I just think that Roberts is going to do a little bit more in this one here, and I like the kind of southpaw. It's Masarandu southpaw. So it's a battle of southpaws here as well. So that's really, really interesting. I'm going to lean Danny Roberts, but not super confident in that spot. But hopefully he does it because, like I say, he's such a sound guy. But I do see why the lines is a pick him in that one there. But I'm going to lean Danny Roberts in that spot. Blagoy Ivanov against Pejo de Lima, Marcus Rogerio de Lima is the fight that kind of kicks off the televised prelims here. I think it's round one or bust for Pejo against a guy who's a little bit of a brick wall, and Ivanov, he's a guy that's not overly been hurt all too much. He's a guy that always goes the kind of hard 15 minutes, doesn't really get taken out. I think the last guy was probably a way back in PFL or the World Series of Fights. That was probably going back, I want to say 6-7 years ago. It might even, I said Volkov maybe actually. I can't even remember. He has been taken out because I've watched fights of that. I know Volkov took him out via submission, but I can't remember who else. It might have been Sean Jordan, but I can't really remember. He has come into the UFC. His losses are to pretty decent fighters. A couple of splits to Derek Lewis, Augusto Sakai, and that loss to Junior Dos Santos with wins over Bam Bam Tuivasa and Ben Rothwell, which are good wins to have on your record there as well. Like I say, to me, it's just whether Pejo is going to go off. It's a guy in Pejo I actually like kind of backing in spots because I think he's got a lot of talent, but just never really puts it all together very well. But he is coming off 2 wins. Knockout of Ben Rothwell, beat Maurice Green. He's only lost in the last kind of couple of years is to Alexander Romanov, who was seen as undefeated, flew through Chase Sherman this past weekend there. I think he's dangerous with his submissions and he is dangerous with his striking, but I think he's first round a bust. If it goes past that 5-minute mark, I think Ivanov's just going to do more over the 15 minutes. I would actually really like to see Pejo win here because I think he's a more exciting fighter, but I think he's going to get kind of spoiled out and kind of held against the cage, probably get taken down in some spots and just kind of grinded out over a 15-minute encounter there. So I'm taking Ivanov. Brandon Royval against Matt Schnell. I kind of want to say that Matt Schnell, this might be a decent matchup for him. Like I said, everybody loves Brandon Royval. He's such a fun fighter to watch. A lot of action when his fights come to the fore. It was the same in the regionals there. He had some crazy fights. 13-6 record fighting out of Colorado and another southpaw. We've got an abundance of southpaws on this card here. And Matt Snell's a guy that we've knew about for a numerous long time. Came through the tough show to get into the UFC, but was a guy that Dustin Poirier was championing back in the day. He was on MTV back in the day. So he's coming off. He was due to have a fight, if I remember right. And did he not take the fight? Was that the Bontarin one? And then he did fight him. That got overturned there. But he can fight a good, solid game plan. He has a very, very good jab. He needs to hide that chin. He's not got a great chin whatsoever. So he needs to kind of hide that chin whenever possible. Royval's not really known as a kind of knockout guy. He is very crazy. He will throw in bunches and just look to kind of dial into you and outwork you pretty much. Schnell can fight to a game plan pretty well. I think he can mix up very well. He's got a dangerous guillotine. I'm not as high on Royval as this, but I've had two people message me today saying they think that Royval's a lock, and he could be, but I think Schnell's dangerous. He's got dangerous submissions. I think if Royval with that kind of Tasmanian devil kind of attitude comes in, looking to throw bombs, looks to get takedowns, leave something open, he could get caught in something. I can't remember what the line was for this fight. He is coming off a nice win over Bontarin, which is he did get taken down numerous times in that fight by Rogerio Bontarin. So if Matt Schnell wants to do that, I think that's something he could use. But like I say, Royval is dangerous with his sweeps. He will get back to his feet. He will latch on to submissions if he gets the opportunity to do so. We've seen that with his arm triangles, with his guillotine chokes over Elliott and Kai Kara France. With his only losses being to Pantoja and Moreno, two of the higher quality guys in that division. I am going to pick Brandon Royval. I think Matt Schnell could be very live in this spot and might be someone I target a little bit on DraftKings because I think he can win this fight. Might not score super high, but like I say, I need to try and get back onto the horse on DraftKings and try and do well in that big tournament. I won a few tickets for that one there. So I am going to lean Royval, but I'm very interested in Matt Schnell in this one. This is one I maybe have to watch a little bit more and see if I can nut up and maybe just pick Matt Schnell. But as of right now, like I say, I'm making these picks right now. I will be picking Brandon Royval to win. Probably a decision in that one. There. Macy Chiasson against Norma Dumont. I don't think Macy Chiasson's super high caliber. I really don't. I think that she is very, very beatable, and I think that Dumont is she's got a big badonk. She's hard to really get much off on. She's got a decent overall striking game. We've seen that in the Lad fight. We've seen that in the Spence fight. Her takedown defense is pretty solid as well. With those she's a short stature lady, kind of short legs, big behind, hard to really get to the ground, and she's shown that. Aspen Ladd, I want to say she tried numerous times. No, she didn't actually in that fight. She didn't actually attempt as many takedowns as she should have done. Spencer tried it, didn't really work out in that one there, and Spencer's kind of left the sport now. I think she's a very solid fighter at featherweight. She obviously struggles to make 135, but 145 she's decent there. Macy's had a couple of losses, and the Lena Landsberg one was very uninspiring. That year going back like 2.5 years ago there. Wins over Shayna Young, who got a big win at the weekend over Garcia Mazzani, who just fought a terrible game plan. And then she got the win over Marion Renault. I think that was probably her last fight. And then she lost to Raquel Pennington in the second round, where she got caught in that guillotine. Raquel Pennington is a very, very solid girl at 135. Macy is better, probably up at 145. She's very strong. She will probably have the length advantage here, I'm guessing. Definitely have the height advantage. 5'7" Dumont to 5'11" in Chiasson, with a 5-inch reach advantage as well. And she does kind of land and she does throw kind of more at a high output, but I think the shots will look more effective on the Dumont side. And she is kind of the more accurate striker as well. So I'm going to go with Norma Dumont. I'm not really a believer in Macy Chiasson. Could she make it close? Absolutely. I would just rather be on the Dumont side here. I think she does enough to win a pretty comprehensive decision in that one there. I think we're on to Randy Brown against Chaos Williams. A really good fight that ends the prelims here before we head into the main card in the welterweight division. Two guys who are very... I've liked the ascension of Randy Brown. I think that he's made some big strides in his game since he came into the UFC. Been very impressed with his last couple of fights, couple of nice wins, a stoppage in there against a legit UFC veteran with, I want to say, he had 20 plus fights. and Alex Oliveira, who caught him with a one-arm kind of rear naked choke. That was beautiful there. Then he showed he can land in a high output, and he can also fight while being injured. During the fight, showed a lot of heart in that one against Jared Goodenow. I didn't like the fact that he was kind of talking a bit much in that one. I thought if he really buckled down, he could have a chance to get Jared Gordon out of there. Was shown that length, was shown the speed. I think he's going to need some of those traits here against Khaos Williams, and just don't get caught with a big shot, because that is what's going to. That's the thing here. I think that Khaos Williams is going to be looking for. He's going to look to land that nuclear bomb that is going to take out Randy Brown, and by all means he could do it. But I've liked what I've seen from Randy Brown. I like that he's kind of matured into the fighter he is, with wins and stoppages over Wally Alves, Barbarena. Went in there, fought a top 5 guy in Vicente Luque. I know he got taken out. Fought Bilal Muhammad back in the day. He's fought some high caliber guys in this division. I do think it's making him better. And I thought he looked fantastic against Jared Gooden. I thought Gooden actually fought a decent fight as well. Showed some holes in the game of Randy Brown with those leg kicks. You can't be taking as many leg kicks as what he did in that fight there. But Jared Gooden showed he's a really tough guy. I know he missed weight in that one, but to me, that's a good win and a good performance there. Khaos Williams, I mean, he came into the UFC. Some people I knew they were talking him up a little bit, but he came in and wrecked through a couple of guys. Morono, that wasn't as big a surprise. I know it was quick inside 30 seconds. The Razak Kassam one was. I'm a stickler for betting Al Hassan. I thought he was the one that's going to land a power shot, and Khaos Williams put him out inside 30 seconds again. Then fought Michel Pereira, who was he's kind of finding his pomp. He's taken all that showmanship kind of out of his game there and just fighting a solid fought game plan, and he wins fights through that, and he did that by getting takedowns and landing the more effective strikes in that one. Then in the Semelsberger fight, I thought Semelsberger showed he's a very tough guy, can take a lot of hard shots, but Khaos really looked decent in that one. And then, I mean, he got a beautiful knockout of Miguel Baeza. The two guys were swinging at one another, but like I say, I've said this before, Baeza gets himself into swinging matches, and he's just not got the fortitude to kind of, if he gets hit with a big shot, to stay in there. Fialo took him out. Khaos Williams took him out. He was landing the bigger shots in that one there. And once he got the knockdown, that kind of fight was over with. I like Randy Brown. I've bet Randy Brown already. He is my bet that I've made. Plus 110. I think, honestly, the line should be reversed. I think Randy should be the favourite. I kind of see it being like a 60-40 type fight. For me, I just like what I'm seeing from Randy Brown. I think he's making more progression. I think he can maybe get takedowns. I don't think he should. I think he should use his length, move around the cage, avoid the big power shots of Khaos Williams, and I believe he can do that. So I'm going to take Randy Brown to win via decision in that one there. So moving on to the main card now. This is a really fine, solid main card. It's starting off with two legends of the UFC with probably, I want to say, well over, I'm probably spitballing here, but maybe close to 60 fights between them, maybe even more, maybe even close to 70. Donald Cowboy Cerrone against Joe Lauzon, who's making his return after 2.5 years being away from the cage. I thought he was done, but he's obviously back. How old is he? He's 38 now, so he turns 38 in a few weeks, where Cerrone's actually the older fighter. He's 39, so that's a little bit interesting. When you look at these records, like 36-16 to 28-16, so these guys have been in a lot of wars. And you've obviously, you know how both these guys fight, and they come out super fast, especially on the Lauzon side in the past. He's came out very, very early and hurt guys, and Cerrone, he kind of works his way into the fights. But if you let him get off and just be the aggressor in fights, he will hurt you, and he can knock you out. We've seen that in the Brown fight. We've seen that in the Hernandez fight. But they are going back a long time. Since then, Donald Cerrone is like fell off a cliff. Now, I know he's not been fighting bad guys. I mean, since the Hernandez fight, that's the last one I think he looked good in. I thought he looked all right in the Ikinta one, where he won just via volume in that one there. But, I mean, his losses, you cannot kind of hold this against him. But Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor starched him inside a minute. Anthony Pettis won a very, very kind of close competitive fight in that one there. Then you had the Nico Price one where I think Nico won that fight, but I think was it a draw? I could be wrong, I don't know. It was, yeah. And then he had the Alex Morono one, which was a little bit of an eye-opener. Like I thought he had enough to beat Alex Morono, and he got taken out inside the first round. That was a little bit concerning there. Should he probably still be fighting? You're always going to want Cowboy in fights. Like I say, that was a year ago, so he's not fought in a year, so that's a long time for Cowboy to be off. So I'll be interested, pretty much a year to the day as well. So I'll be interested to see what he's up to outside of the cage, because he does a lot of extreme sports. Is he really putting his full time in the gym? With Lauzon, he is still teaching. He's in the gym a little bit more. Like I say, we've not seen Lauzon since UFC Fight Night. It was the Reyes against Weidman one. That's going way back October 18th, 2019. So that's a long ass time where he won against Jonathan Pierce. Got him out there in the first round, which he's kind of known for. He also had some losses. Clay Guida, Kritz Grutzmarker, where Kritz Grutzmarker really put it on him, like beat him up badly. To me, I think Joe Lauzon is live in this one. I think he can take out Cerrone in the first 7.5 minutes in this one. If Cerrone starts slow and Lauzon starts fast and gets off and lands some of those strikes, I think he can take Donald Cerrone out. But again, there could be ring rust on the side of Lauzon. I don't like the kind of fight if it kind of goes past the 7.5 minute mark. So I'm going to take Joe Lauzon. It's hard to be super confident in the spot, but Donald Cerrone to me has fell off a cliff big time. I think he can win the fight if it goes late and he starts to get his confidence and starts to really catch a rhythm, and Lauzon maybe starts to fall off a little bit. But to me, I just think Lauzon's going to come out here and win this fight, and might be the last time we see both guys in the UFC here. So Joe Lauzon, I'm going to take a first round stoppage in that one there, and I say hopefully both guys just kind of go their separate way and never really see that they get fed to fighters coming on. I just want to see that. Legend type of fights are pretty good, but yeah, I'm going to Lauzon for the one there. Okay, another legend who's coming back after that bit of a time away. Mauricio Shogun, who against OSP. I thought who was done. I thought Shogun was done after the Paul Craig fight, but obviously not. I don't know how many fights he's got left in the contract. I think the UFC try to get guys off the kind of reach bill with the Preux and your Cerrones, and I know that the staples of the company, but the guys, you pay these guys well. He has come back against OSP. This is the fight that actually took place. Let me see when this took place. It was an OSP win knockout. I know that. Ovince and Preux. Is that really? Oh my days. 7.5 years ago, where OSP won via first round TKO. That is wild. I thought it was like 2016, but obviously time's going quicker than I thought. So yeah, he's won fights in those 7 or 8 years that he's been fighting. Little Nog, Corey Anderson's a good win, especially where Corey is nowadays. Volante's not in the sport. Pedro's just came back. Big Little Nog again, he got a win over. So that was his last win away back in 2020 with his last loss against Paul Craig, where he got stopped in the second round there, November 2020. I think I have to lean with OSP here. As much as I'd like to see Shogun kind of ride off into the sunset with a UFC win, I don't think this is it. I still think that OSP with his athleticism and his kind of presence will be a little bit too much. But he's a guy that's been kind of going up and down. He's going between divisions. He's been at 205. He's been up at heavyweight fighting. He got fed to Jamal Hill and got really blasted on there. Went up against Tanner Boza, got knocked out in the second round there. But he's still shown he's got that power when he knocked out Alonzo Menifield, I want to say a couple of years back. He's been trading wins and losses since that kind of since that Shogun win, really, or the Corey Anderson win, I should say, in 2018. I'm going to go OSP, rooting for Shogun. I think this will be a sloppy fight. I think both guys will gas out, but eventually I think OSP will catch him with a shot, or if he gets him to the ground, gets a submission. So I kind of like OSP inside the distance here, but I am rooting for Shogun in that one. I just think that it's not a fight I really wanted to see again. I'm surprised they put it together, but I'll take OSP for the win there. Michael Chandler against Tony Ferguson. I'll tell you what, if you were to tell me a couple of years ago that I would see Tony Ferguson at plus, I think he's plus 320 over here in the UK, I would say you're barking up the wrong tree. But he is here. Michael Chandler's a heavy favourite. And I can kind of see why, but I think that line is a little high. I'll be honest with you. I know that Tony's been on a kind of sharp kind of decline, but he's not like he's been losing to really bad fighters at all. He's obviously the former interim champion, one of the kind of most violent guys we've had. Like I say, he's took 3 L's to 3 of the top guys in the division. I think obviously Charles is the champion, Gaethje's the number 1 contender, and then you put Beneil Dariush in there, probably right behind them. So he's lost to the 3 best guys in the division. But you can kind of see that the damage is starting to really catch up with him. He's kind of been figured out a little bit. He can be taken down. He can be controlled. You've seen that in the Dariush fight. You've seen that in the Charles Oliveira fight. He will still fight, and he will still have great output and still try to take your head off, but you can control him here. I mean, that Gaethje fight, eventually just those shots, those hard shots from Gaethje were just adding up, and eventually I think the right decision was made in that 5th round to stop the fight. But he's not won a fight, I want to say, close to 3 years. So this is a big fight here against Michael Chandler, who's coming off that fight of the year, I think, against Justin Gaethje, where that was just, I bet him there against Gaethje. I thought that he had an opportunity to knock him out. And he landed some big shots on Gaethje, but Gaethje's the Terminator, isn't he? He lands, keeps coming forward, he'll drop you. He's just there longer than you. He's got more in the tank than you have, and that ultimately kind of when it played out in that fight there. But he gave us an unbelievable fight, and that's all he's really done since he's come into the UFC, is give us good moments. Bet him, I think he was plus 150 as an underdog against Dan Hooker, got him out of there. Charles, have I bet him in his 3 UFC fights? I have. I bet him against Charles Oliveira, and honestly thought he'd won that fight when he dropped Oliveira, but got that first round, came out in the second round, did Oliveira, and showed the heart of a champion, showed the champion that he is, caught him with a beautiful shot, sat Chandler down, and really just that he's had 3 really good fights in the UFC. That's what I've liked about Chandler since he's come over. I am ultimately going to have to lean on the Chandler side here. I do think the line is high. I think this could maybe turn into being a little bit of a back and forth kind of violent fight where both guys could really get hurt, both guys could potentially get dropped. So if you're kind of saying that, you maybe should be taking a poke on Tony Ferguson. I think Tony's done a little bit. And I think Chandler has got the shots there where he can sit there, applaud his feet forward, just sit there and land some killer blows where you're going to get Tony, who's going to be optimum movement, going to be moving around everywhere and looking to really put it on you. So I am going to go with Michael Chandler. Do I take him via stoppage? I will. I'll take him via stoppage. I'm going to go early second round. I think it's going to be there. If not, I think he can win a pretty competitive decision. I think Tony will always be in the fight if he doesn't get taken out. But for me, I am going to go with Michael Chandler in this one. Co-main event of the night, you've got Rose Namajunas against Carla Esparza for the UFC Women's Strawweight title. This is a rematch of the inaugural fight in the division to announce the first champion in the division, where Carla Esparza came through in that fight there and was the first ever UFC Strawweight champion. That was a way back. I want to see. This is going to scare me how far this fight goes back. Let me see. That fight just it seems not too long ago. That was 2014, seven and a half years ago, more or less. That is craziness. And she won in the 3rd round there via a submission with a rear naked choke. I mean, Rose was very, very young then. She's not the fighter that she was today back then. She was very exciting. She had a lot of finishes, was very flashy, was very dangerous. But ultimately, the grind of Carla Esparza showed up, and that's what Carla is known for. And it's been like that since the Invicta days, before the tough show, before she was in the UFC. She gets takedowns against everybody. The only person she's not got a takedown against was Tatiana Suarez, who's probably just the best wrestler she's probably ever faced, ever grappled with. But outside of that, she gets takedowns on literally everybody. Now, she can get taken down. We've seen like Claudia Gadelha get one, Calvillo got one, Jandiroba got some as well, but she's the one that will. Striking's definitely came on, so I think she can come in there and strike with Rose. I don't think she's nowhere the technical standard of what Rose is, especially with her kicking game. I think she is very hittable. You can really bust her up. She's got a lot of scar tissue on her face. So I give the edge pretty dramatically to Rose Namajunas just with her output, her variety of shots, her footwork, her speed, her variation of her shots. And she's a very dangerous grappler. Esparza here needs takedowns. I think she will get takedowns. I just don't see her having the success of some of the fights that she's fought against some of the other girls, like your Watersons or your Marina Rodriguez, where she has top time there, or Yan Xiaonan. She gets on top and she can be kind of dominant with her control there. I just don't think she's going to be like that against Rose Namajunas here. I just don't see it happening for large spots. But those takedowns, and if she can get numerous takedowns in rounds, can make rounds really, really close. I'm seeing a lot of people really liking Carla Esparza, and I can't knock them for it. Honestly, I can't. I think for me, I would rather be on the dog side. But I just think that Rose Namajunas is really leveled up in her career. I mean, she's only she'll be turning 30, I want to say, this year at some point. She's still very young in her career, and she's fought the who's who. She's probably the greatest fighter in that strawweight division with the names that she's beat. Zhang Weili a couple of times. She's beaten Joanna a couple of times. She's beaten Jessica Andrade, all former champions of this division. And when she's on, she's a really special fighter, and she's very dangerous. She can be one of these girls that can take you out, but she can mix it all together well too. She can get takedowns, but like I say, you saw Zhang Weili. She had to come in there with a kind of takedown offensive game, and that, like I say, that was a very close fight. That could have went either way. To me, that came down to the 5th round there. If her head's on right, I think Rose is the side here, but you can never be too sure with Rose. She's a little bit of a I don't want to say a mental midget because she has her problems, but if she turns up and she's at optimum, I think she beats Carla Esparza. But I do think Carla is live. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to lean with Rose Namajunas, but I do think Carla is live, and I wish you all the best to all the people that are going to take a shot on her, because I know there is people out there that have laid down some pretty hefty money on her already, because they've came and spoke to me about it and showed me tickets, and all the best to you. But I think I'm going to lean on the Rose Namajunas side for that. And the main event of the night, we've got this is a great fight. The Bronx, Charles Oliveira against the human highlight reel and Justin Gaethje. Oh man, what a fight this is going to be for however long it lasts. I don't see it. I actually don't see it going any longer than 10 minutes. I think that this fight is just going to be fireworks from the very first strike that gets thrown here to the last submission attempt, the last strike, whatever it may be. Charles Oliveira is his story to me is so unbelievable, because he obviously came into the UFC as a complete phenom. Looked fantastic initially. The guy, I want to say, how old is he now? So let me see. I want to say he's in his early 30s. So, yeah, so he's in his early 30s. He probably came in, I want to say, 12 years ago. Let's see when his first fight was. 2010, 12 years ago. So he was a teen when he came in. And he came in, I remember these submissions. He was catching it wisely, in calf slicers. And then he's the guy that's got the most submissions in the UFC. But then he kind of has those fights where he flaked out against Holloway. There was the fight against Swanson. He looked like he was doubting himself, and then he just put this run together where he was kind of going between divisions. He's put this run together, and the guy is just an absolute straight-out destroyer now, where everything's in sync. We all knew submission skills were there, but he's put his striking together where, I mean, you can hit this guy, and I still think you can maybe knock the quit out of him if you land numerous shots. But if you don't get him out of there, he is going to land something on you, and he's going to hurt you very, very badly. And this is what he does. The guy's not a decision fight. I know we had that fight with Ferguson where he used takedowns, nearly got that submission. I think it was just the toughness of Tony Ferguson there. But this guy is a finisher of the nth degree. Jim Miller, David Tamer, Nick Lentz, Jared Gordon. Those were a couple of submissions in there, and there was a couple of nasty, nasty one-punch knockouts in those spots as well. Then you've got the Michael Chandler one there. Gets hurt, shows heart to keep going, to stay in the fight, and then when he gets his opportunity to start that second round, he lands one clean shot, fight's done. Dustin Poirier comes out there, and really I think he tires Dustin Poirier out very, very quickly in that fight by getting on his back, being heavy, landing some big shots, getting submission attempts in there, and eventually this guy just knocks you down. I mean, I just think that he's an unbelievable fighter, this Charles Oliveira. He's a really special guy. But then you look across the cage at Justin Gaethje. This guy, I mean, you just look at his fights in the UFC, and it's just there's just performance bonuses all the way up there. Oh my God, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's only one fight in the UFC, and that was that loss to Habib. Even his losses, he's getting fight of the nights. Oh, what a guy Justin Gaethje is. I mean, I know I bet against him against Michael Chandler, but I knew what was going against there, that if Chandler didn't get him out of there and hurt him, that eventually that's probably what's going to happen, that he would lose a decision, if not get knocked out. I thought he would get knocked out if he was going to lose. But this is a fight that, like, when they made this one, I just got that goosebump feelings in there. But when I look at this fight here, I think he has to land a bomb early and take Charles out. If he doesn't, I think that he's in big trouble. I think the overall kind of game of Charles Oliveira is just so dangerous to a point where Justin is really going to have to land a big shot. And he can do that because we've seen him do it. We've seen him kind of have a war of attrition against Tony Ferguson, but eventually he lands that big blow that really just puts Tony Ferguson in a spot where the ref has to jump in, stop that fight there. Barboza came out there, starts him in the first round. James Vick putting his head all the way up there just to get absolutely poleaxed there. Yeah, I think I have to take Charles Oliveira. I'm seeing some people that like the Gaethje side. I've been watching some of the James Lynch pro picks video. A lot of the pros seem to like Justin Gaethje, but as a fighter, this is the guy that you'd love to watch. Yeah, he's a fighter's fighter. So for me, I'm going to take Charles Oliveira. I actually think he knocks him out in the first round or the very early second round. So I've got Charles Oliveira for the win, guys. That's my picks there. I'm going to get in the chat and just say hi. I've been talking for 53 minutes. I apologise. Oh, my days. I didn't think I was speaking for that long. I've kind of just lost my train of thought. So, Edward Kelly. I have a feeling that Carla Esparza and Charles Oliveira will win and started by stoppage. Not bad. Hi, Will Martin. What's up? Nick Sassone here. What's up, Big Will? Thanks. Thanks. That's the first time I had the pleasure of catching you live. That's awesome, Nick. I'm never usually on here anymore at this time of night because I've got kids, but I'm kind of feeling a little bit spry tonight and wanted to get this out a little bit early. Early in the week is better. Thank you, Will. I'm going to try and get them out here on a Sunday night if I can, but like I say, with kids and everything, it's never easy. If you've got kids, you will know about it. Good evening, Will. What's happening, Ginge? I like Gatto scorecards, no action. Hopefully it's plus money. I didn't like Tracy's last performance with a kickboxing. Our striking's not great, to be fair. Danny Roberts is definitely chinny. I can't disagree with you there. He can be hit. I think his fight IQ lacks a little bit, but I'm a big fan of his. Hopefully he wins here. Royval around minus 250, 260. Schnell plus 205. Seems like it should be lined a little bit closer. I'm kind of with you on that, Mr. Anonymous. I think it should be lined closer to. Where are we? I think Rose finishes Carla. I think the line makes no sense. I made the biggest bet I've ever made on Rose at minus 165 from NHJ. All the best. I think you're on the right side there, honestly, for me. So, all the best. Cowboy's been filming a Western with Gina Carano. Oh, that's not good. I feel that Carla controls Rose on the map, but Rose is more composed now. That is true. It's got 3 units on Chandler, minus 200. A little nervous. Minus 200 is a good number, though, I think. Might hedge. Don't hedge. Stick with your gut feeling. NHJ. Do you think the most of Charles Oliveira knockout losses was due to the weight cut to featherweight? I honestly don't know, because I don't think he's a big lightweight. I know he looks big in stature, but I don't know. It's hard to put it down to the weight cut, because I think he made 145 okay on occasions down there, and he looked great at some occasions at 145. But perhaps, who knows? I like Justin Gaethje, but he's shown red flags in his ground game since his WFO SOF days. Yeah. Sorry about that. It's 6:40 p.m. in Chicago, New Orleans time. It is just after midnight here. It's coming in at 1 a.m. here in the UK, my friend Edward. So very late. But yeah, I'm glad I got this out of the way. Got out nice and early. Guys, if you could throw a like in the video if you're in the chat here, it'd be much appreciated. I'll be back next week. What is the card next week, actually? Because I know I looked into a fight through the week. Blachowicz against Rakic is the main event next week. Guys, until then, enjoy UFC 274. In fact, let me put this here, because I know there's some people that will like this. That's my picks at the bottom there. Oliveira, Namajunas, Chandler, OSP, Lauzon, Brown, Dumont, Royval, Ivanov, Roberts, Cortez, Rodriguez, Cornelosse, Newson, Fialo. Yeah. Guys, thank you very much. All the very best. Enjoy the fight.